All right, then. Welcome, everyone, to the May 21, 2026 Delta Conveyance Design and Construction Authority Finance Committee meeting. And with that, I'd like to call the meeting to order and move on to the roll call. Please do the roll call.
Gladly. Good afternoon, Chair Martin, starting with you. Chair Martin.
I'm here.
Thank you. Committee Member Palmer.
I'm here.
Thank you. And alternate Committee Member Fast. I know that you are filling in for Director Millibar.
Mr. Rodriguez, I apologize. Director Fast will not be acting as a committee member during this meeting. The alternate designation is just for the Board of Directors.
Okay. Thank you for that clarification.
And Director Millibar, I believe I did hear his voice.
Yeah, I'm on.
And Director Millibar is attending as a member of the public from an unagendized location, so he will not be participating as a committee member this afternoon.
Okay. All these details. My goodness, legalese.
I know. I'm sorry.
You lawyers drive me crazy. We love you, but you know.
So with that, Chair Martin, we can proceed.
Very good. Move to item 3, public comment. Members of the public may address the committee on matters that are within the committee's jurisdiction but not on the agenda at this time. Speakers are generally limited to 3 minutes each. However, the chair may further limit this time when reasonable based on circumstances. Persons wishing to speak may do so remotely through the electronic meeting link by scanning the QR code above or teleconference number when recognized by the chair. The DCA encourages public comments and requests that speakers present their remarks in a respectful manner within the established time limits and focus on issues which are directly affect the DCA or are within its jurisdiction. Do we have any public comment under item 3?
Chair Martin, we have not received any public comment requests in the room online, but we do need to confirm if there have been any from your location.
None from this location.
And Committee Member
here.
Palmer, okay. All right.
All right, the next item is approval of the minutes, the April 16th, 2026 Finance Committee meeting minutes. Before I ask for a motion, do we have any public comment? We have no public comment at this location.
No public comment requests in the room here or online. So asking, okay, thank you, Ms. Palmer.
I move we approve.
Okay. Sarah, would you like to make a motion to approve the
Yep.
minutes?
I move we approve.
All right, I second.
That was simple. All in favor?
Yeah. Chair Martin,
Aye.
thank you. Committee Member Palmer. All right, meeting minutes approved. Thank you.
Very good. Move to items 5, discussion items. Item A under 5 is review fiscal year 26-27 budget summary and detail and recommend action information only. Mr. Bradner.
Thank you, Committee Chair Martin. Claudia has the presentation up, so I will first begin with the staff report for 5A. We have proposed for next fiscal year's budget $65 million. This includes $992,000 in unallocated reserve, as well as an additional $3 million in contingency built into the fieldwork, geotechnical, and boundary survey budget line items. Those contingency items will be released should we need to in the case of scope or budget changes. We will present our final budget for board approval at the June 18th meeting with the recommendation of the Finance Committee. The planned work will focus in the upcoming year largely on completing our system-wide basis of design report and Class 3 cost estimate, including independent external reviews of base estimate, contingency, and schedule. complete significant portions of our 30% geotechnical and survey program in preparation for transitioning to engineer record teams to assume the design activities, advance the necessary DCA systems and requirements. This is phased to focus first on the compensatory mitigation final design, followed by the full program needs. Evaluate contract packaging alternatives, procurement, contract templates, and insurance program development. Continue advancing long lead items such as property acquisition and power supply, and continue with our industry outreach and engagement with vendors, consultants, and contractors. So with that, I will begin moving into the Go ahead.
I have a point here.
Yes.
Just it's silly. Where it says evaluate contract packaging alternatives development, could you add an L in there? The spelling.
Oh, yes, I
It's
see
my
it.
teacher thing. Sorry about that.
Yeah, development, yes.
Development, yes. I mean, that's kind of an interesting concept, but yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, very good. So Claudia, if we could switch to the presentation now. Some of what I just covered in the board memo is also in the presentation, so when we hit those, I think we can kind of zoom through them. So first, Claudia, let's go to the agenda for the presentation. We have our DCA roadmap timeline that we'll cover. We do have some updates to that. The proposed scope and budget for next fiscal year, FY 26-27, then Q&A. So first, the budget planning schedule, not to be confused with the roadmap, which is on the following two slides. The schedule, just to get us centered, here we are at May 21st Finance Committee meeting. This will be to review the draft budget details. We have another meeting of the committee scheduled June 11th. That's 1 week in advance of the full board meeting of June 18th, where we would present the final budget to the DCA board for adoption. At this point, we have provided the draft budget and all the attachments to the Delta Conveyance Office of the Department of Water Resources. Their review is ongoing. We've been fielding some relatively minor questions and clarifications on the scope and budget. But as in past years, there could be some more on the minor side tweaks between the draft budget we present today and the draft budget that we bring back to the committee on June 11th. And we'll be sure to highlight any changes between today's meeting and June 11th so that the committee is aware of how those changes came to be and what they represent. Okay, next slide, Claudia. So this is a roadmap that we have been working from since 2024. It originally covered a time frame through 2027. It was largely focused on the next phase funding, as we termed it, that was intended to cover 2 years of work, 26 and 27, included major milestones, as you can see on the graphic. First, completing the updated Class 3 cost estimate in the early part of 2027, preparing the Joint Exercise Powers Agreement Amendment for implementation, having that ready for consideration by the end of this calendar year. And then a major milestone indicated going years back as a point in time for the water agency's approval to proceed. In reality, that should be a process, an activity with a duration to it. This milestone was just intended to represent that upon completion, we would be able to begin the property acquisition steps to acquire the necessary land for the project, and completing those approvals is a necessary predecessor to those final property acquisitions. You can see the portion of the calendar for 2028 did not exist in previous iterations of the roadmap, but to help with the visualization of the updates that I'm bringing, we've included it, but just blocked it out as not added previously, but being added for discussion associated with this next fiscal year's budget. So Claudia, if you could go to the next slide. Now you can see the updates that we are bringing forward, and they have bearing because at this point we're talking about a fiscal year budget that will cover mid-26 to mid-27. We do have a longer range view of the program beyond the end of 2027 and wanted to start to reflect on activities that we anticipate through the end of calendar year 28. Additionally, we've done quite a bit of work on our overall program schedule. We have a lot better understanding of the critical path activities and what really needs to be completed in the coming years. And so what's also reflected is refinements in terms of how the program will sequence and what are the priorities for the next fiscal year and the following couple of years. So first,
I have a quick.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
yes,
I just have a quick question. As we talk about the program delivery and planning, the program delivery, implementation, is that again different? I'm sorry if I'm getting that confused.
no, those two terms are used interchangeably.
Delivery and implementation are interchangeable.
That is
okay.
correct.
Thank you.
Sure. So working just from the top down, talking about the changes, our basis of design report is still on schedule, and we intend to have that completed and finalized by the end of this calendar year. We have launched our cost estimate preparation efforts, but I would say with additional really hard thinking and planning around the steps that we intend to include in that development of the cost estimate, including review cycles, not only internally with our independent teams, our independent review teams, but also with the Department of Water Resources and the participating public water agencies who've expressed an interest in reviewing various elements of this process. We've extended the timeline a little bit to have that updated cost estimate ready for the public. We're now targeting mid-2027. This still precedes the initiation of PWA approval votes for implementation. Jumping to the bottom, you can see that's now represented as an activity with a duration of a year. Those activities would start in mid-27 and expected to be completed by mid-28. The cost estimate is a key predecessor to those activities, and so we've got those linkages now established and are on track for that, on track for this schedule and plan. Within the program delivery planning section, there are a number of changes, but really what's reflected here is understanding that our priority is the compensatory mitigation project with respect to the overall delivery schedule. That is the activity that if you look down in program delivery, we show final design of priority project features, compensatory mitigation projects. That replaces the previous entry that was final design of project features. And so this is now reflecting a better understanding of the sequence of these activities, what really needs to get started when, and ensuring that we have the necessary systems in place. The CMPs, as they're abbreviated as, are not the significant construction efforts of the project. So in terms of scale, they are a few $1 million worth of construction as opposed to the very large construction efforts that will follow. But they're really important and necessary to complete the grading work, complete all the necessary plantings that are associated with these CMPs before we can begin construction of the projects that they mitigate. So these are on the critical path. We've broken apart the program delivery planning to recognize that better understanding. So we have a number of early activities that are between now and mid-27. Many of these are focused on what's necessary for the CMPs, and then shifting the full development of, for instance, the updated PMPs, workflows, SOPs. We've now broken that into what's necessary for the early delivery phase of CMPs and what's necessary for the full delivery phase, which will have a bit of a stagger and a more distant time frame. Similarly, with the design and construction contract packaging documents, we've now broken that up into what's necessary to deliver the CMPs and what's necessary for the full design and construction preparations. Similarly, design standards, design automation, design requirements, we have those defined as what are needed for the CMPs, which are a much simpler design overall, don't require the design automation to be fully stood up. Those are really necessary for the major design activities that will follow. So we've separated these out, and this is now consistent with our scope and budget plans for next fiscal year. Also, we've had, I think, a series of conversations with various PWA staff and DWR about recognizing the fact that the PWA approval to proceed process is likely to take some time, and that it seems prudent to recognize that the budget we have approved through 27 really should be stretched through 2028. And that's what this work plan reflects. So we're now in a position with our next fiscal year budget proposal and following years to stretch those funds all the way through 2028 and ensure we can get through the PWA approval to proceed activities and really through 2028 and then reach the point in time where we should be in a position to fully implement the project and won't require additional funding for 2028 unless there's a change in the trajectory of this plan. For instance, a desire to accelerate or something that at this point we really can't forecast. I think I should probably pause here and see if there's any questions, first of all, on this update to the roadmap.
No, let me just take a look at my note here. Not for me.
Now, we
Gary?
can move on. I don't have any questions, Graham.
Okay, great. So going forward, this roadmap through 2028, this is our new roadmap, and it will replace what we've used in the past to update the board as well as sharing with our public water agencies and others. So we'll be transitioning to this new roadmap. Great. So Claudia, if we could go now to the next slide, please. Okay. So in terms of priorities for next fiscal year, I think it is worth first looking at what's been accomplished in 25-26. There's been a lot of progress made on the permitting efforts, and the support provided by the DCA to DWR I think provided tremendous value, but DWR's efforts in all of this should really be acknowledged. We initiated the basis of design report to update the class 3 estimate, so that was a really big push for this fiscal year. It actually started at the very tail end of the prior year. That's been a significant effort. We're moving the overall system-wide design forward from a concept level, which tended to be characterized as about a 10% maturity relative to a full 100% being completed design. So a conceptual design is the sort of the state we are in at the completion of the CEQA process. At this point, the basis of design report is going to advance the overall system design to a maturity of 20%, which is no small feat for a project of this scale. We continue to develop and refine the overall program schedule. It's essential when we enter the cost estimating phase here that we not only have a more detailed depiction of the elements of the project, but that we also can reflect the sequence and duration of the activities associated with those features. It's very difficult to develop the time-based elements of the cost estimate without a reliable schedule. And again, as you can imagine, for a program of this scale, the overall schedule is quite complicated with a lot of interrelated activities. But it's been this work that's allowed us to really start to focus and reflect what is truly critical in the next couple of years, as we talked about in the roadmap. We have prepared and are ready to resume geotechnical and survey activities. We should be having those rigs mobilized and back out in the field starting June 1. Developing the environmental compliance plan, taking into account the various permit requirements and commitments. So this has also been a very significant effort, and rolling this out as part of the resuming geotechnical and survey work has been a significant lift, but we're in position and ready to deliver. And then lastly, there's been a number of standards, procedures, requirements that have been developed, again, to ensure current operations are efficient and also with an eye on this transition to the delivery phase. I don't think it's necessary to repeat the priorities for next fiscal year, but I'd be happy to answer any questions on that.
No, I just appreciate that you put them in our documentation, so it helps to understand what we're doing going forward.
Great. So Claudia, let's go ahead and move through the proposed budget. So we have a $65 million proposed budget for next fiscal year, which is the same as the approved budget for 25-26. We have opened up a couple of additional new program delivery tasks that are being introduced for the next fiscal year. You can see them at the bottom of the table where there were not budget line items last year, and there now are. They're largely associated with various surveying activities. So survey mapping, setting up the survey control network, as well as right-of-way mapping and aerial mapping. These are new activities. The point being, these are really focused on the selected project, no longer part of program initiation. And so as we're starting to do work, such as geotech work, survey work, and other mapping, it will ultimately support the delivery of the project and want to capture those costs in the program delivery phase.
Kind of an ignorant question, if I may.
Please.
Okay, in like on the bottom where it says on 220, it's got survey and mapping under PMO, and then it's a survey mapping. Those are different parts of the project, correct?
Yes, they are. So what you see reflected in the PMO is the management costs, and so this again is reflecting a structure that will be extremely important into the future as we start to bring on engineer record teams and construction contractors. Those EORs and construction contracts will all be down in the program delivery phase of the program, but the management of those teams lives within the program management office.
So that program management office, that kind of oversees all that other survey and mapping and our row mapping and stuff?
That is correct. And one thing to note is you'll see in the geotechnical management, there's a pretty significant increase in the budget for geotechnical management, item 210. And that's a reflection of we have a number of enhanced systems in place, again, preparing for the future. So it's not just the oversight of the geotech work that's being conducted, but it's the quality reviews associated with that data, the management of those databases that we house the information in and visualize the information. That's all handled by the DCA PMO team. We just rely on our program delivery contracts to deliver the field work.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. So looking through our budget, just starting at the dark blue lines, those summarize the proposed budget for next year and compare against the approved budgets from last year. So we do have a slightly higher program management office budget associated with FY 26-27. Some of that is exactly what we were talking about with increased oversight and management of data on the geotech front, survey and mapping. A number of other activities are pretty consistent there, but as you work your way down, you can see that there are some that stand out as requiring either additional resources, which is largely what's reflected here, or in some cases it actually specifically identified additional scope.
One other quick question. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
In program initiation, now that particular thing goes away at some point. When does that go away?
It does. It's winding down. And so, for instance, what you see in last year program initiation engineering, that's the basis of design report effort. And so as that is winding down, really all that's left is to complete that work. And so that is the 8.9 that you see there. It just completely winds down and closes once we're done with the planning phase of the program, and we're no longer doing things we're no longer performing engineering at a system-wide level. So once we start splitting off and procuring individual engineer record teams, the effort associated with those EORs is down in program delivery. So you will continue to see this pattern. I would expect next year it's possible we may not have any budget in program initiation for 27, 28, but we'll just have to see.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I think, Graham, you did have a more detailed explanation of those three phases earlier in the document, so they were very helpful to me, so.
Yeah, that's correct. We will get to that in a couple of slides. That's right.
Okay, I'm ahead of myself.
Yep, no, you're absolutely right. So we covered the program initiation, program delivery. We've also been discussing, this is where the geotechnical budget for the fieldwork program is housed, as well as the survey, largely the right-of-way mapping and other survey activities all live within program delivery. So, as reflected here and then likely in the coming years, it will largely be, the budget will be dominated by the program management office and then the program delivery. And over time, the program delivery is going to grow substantially. Okay, next slide, Claudia. So this is our summary of budget by vendor. We did look at this, and and modify, I thought we modified this. Oh, great, okay. So it's not in the printout that I have, but as you can see on the screen here, so we added a couple of additional items at the bottom compared to past years, so that when you sum total these numbers, it does total to the overall budget number of 65 million. What wasn't captured previously are vendors under 250,000, as well as the unallocated reserve items. So in this case, we do have a much smaller unallocated reserve compared to last year, but we have relatively significant contingency budgets associated with field work and survey, and those are available for redistribution within the program if we need them. We've just positioned them in the place that we think is the most likely, point of use. Otherwise, as you look down through this comparison, you can see that some vendors are changing significantly. Others are very similar to past years. So for instance, Jacobs, who is our internal engineering team, has been focused very much this year on the basis of design report and transitioning to the cost estimate. With completion of that BODR, the cost estimate then is really the priority for the next fiscal year, and also getting ready for those CMPs. Alternatively, AECom, just underneath them, had a much smaller task order this current fiscal year, given that the field work was restricted, but now that we're relaunching those field activities and have a pretty robust program for the next year, the budget reflected for AECom is in line with that scope. Any questions?
I have another. Yeah, one from me. Beth Beston Krieger, Josh. Okay, there it is. It's going up quite a bit. Is that because you anticipate more Public Records Act requests? Is that where that comes in?
Go ahead.
Thanks, Director Palmer. Yeah, so in part that's that, but it's also just expected increased legal needs across the program. We've just seen an uptick in the amount of legal assistance that's required as we've kind of scaled up across the DCA.
Okay. Yeah, just asking. Got to keep track of you lawyers,
I think one other I'd like to point out, just in case preempt any questions, is STV. It's about the 6th line item down. STV, that's the firm that that's where we obtain our deputy director services. So Jim Morrison is contracted through STV. We're going to be bringing on an additional person through that contract to provide general agreement administration across to all of our contracts. And so this will be a new high-level professional that will be brought on through this contract to support the executive team. So although listed as Deputy Director Services, there are additional services that we'll be providing through STV, all within the executive team.
So just a quick thing. What exactly are they doing? They're coordinating people? Is that it?
They're administering the contracts. All of these contracts that you see here, and there are many that are even buried down in the vendors under 250,000. We, within the executive team, generally provide agreement administration, although we delegate task order management to various levels within the program. But our goal is to establish one individual who has those agreement administration responsibilities for all contracts, and ensure that they are independent from all the other contract vehicles that we have in place. So STV provides a really a good way to ensure that we have independent oversight of all these contracts, and also essentially lightening the administrative burden a bit from me and Jim.
Okay, good.
Graham, since this chart was updated since the packet went out for the committee, can you send this out to the committee members, this updated version? Because I think it's kind of like comment I made to you yesterday about
Well, I pulled this off from stuff that Claudia sent. I think I have this.
The only difference to look at, Sarah, is the bottom two, the vendor under.
Oh, the bottom two, okay.
And so that was the update, to include the vendors under 250,000 and the unallocated reserve. We do need to tweak at the top, the title. Originally, this table was focused only on those vendors over 250,000, which was traditionally about 90% or so of the budget. At this point, it's capturing the entirety of the budget.
Yeah.
So
You're right, Gary. We should have an update on that. Thank you.
Yeah.
yes, we'll do that, Gary.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, next slide, please. So this is that work breakdown structure slide. You absolutely cannot read, really, I imagine, what's on the right-hand side here. The point of this is the text on the left. We have the 3 current phases that are operational within the program. The work breakdown structure is set to organize all of our budgeted activities, and it's been developed so that it can evolve over time, but with a consistent overall plan for how these costs will be allocated within our systems. The program management office is robust now, and so that's the first 2 columns on the right-hand side. It will continue to expand, but the program office will support functions throughout all phases of the program. It will continue to exist through the entire duration of planning, design and construction, and then startup and commissioning. The program initiation phase, that's where we initially housed the engineering work to support permitting efforts, as well as evaluation of alternatives, improving definition of features, design criteria, contracts, and interfaces. This phase does end when all major permits have been obtained and the program is in the position for implementation or delivery, if you will. Then program delivery right now is focused on the pre-design data collection activities to support further study of the preferred project. But this would be the phase that would ultimately include all final design and construction projects managed by the PMO.
Okay, Graham, I have a question.
Sure.
With a little bit of a introduction. When we started the Finance Committee, I think I was based on some comments I made about needing to know where the numbers come from and what's behind the numbers. And so with that as a given, that's, we can't possibly check the numbers, but we can at least see what's behind each line item if we want to look far enough. And when we look in the spreadsheets that were sent out, and that you have, I guess, condensed down to 8.5 by 11 in this packet, there are some task orders that are preceded with, I think, 3 zeros, like 0009, for instance. And there's many, more than one vendor or consultant that is working on some aspect of task order 0009. Do you have an index of what these task orders represent? Task order numbers, the highest are in the hierarchy seems like the high level.
Yeah, so maybe I'll start first on a topic of task order numbers. They do not connect at all to the WBS, Gary. The task order numbers are just sequentially by year, unless we have some vendors where we issue multiple task orders in a given year. So they are purely a sequential numbering system so that we know which task order we're talking about when we're working with our vendors. So for some, for instance, Jacobs, their task order for FY 25-26 is task order 8. Last year was task order 7. Next year will be task order 9. But there is no cross-contract relationship associated with those task order numbers.
Okay, I got you. Just by year. Okay.
It is purely
Vendor.
Does it start over at the new fiscal year?
No, it gets the next number in the sequence. So for those who were on 8 this year, they're getting task order 9 next year. For those who are on 4 this year, they're getting task order 5 next year.
I guess an example is when I just picked out one consultant, which was Parsons, and tried to come up with their total budget amount and found each one that had an 0009 associated with it, and that's how I was able to track all the total numbers. But and I think deep in this document, there's a lot of information about task orders, and I guess I'll go back to my original statement that Sarah, you can jump in and comment if you want. I think the committee just needs to know what's behind the numbers that are in the proposed budget. And maybe not every single one, but at least a sampling that we could look at and say, oh, that makes sense. That's a major item. So forth.
Yes, I understand, Gary. And so going back to attachment 2, I think that's what you might be referring to, Gary, where
An Excel spreadsheet?
it's a table that was included with the packet on an 8.5 by 11 format, and it has essentially what we call our level 2 description of our details.
Okay.
Yeah, and so the code on the left, Gary, is the contract ID. That's the first 6 digits that you see there. And then the task order is the next 4 digits. So that's the contract and task order. So that is the connection. You're right. As you're looking through everywhere that Parsons shows up, it's contract 190009 and then task order 90009.
Right.
Okay, but that other task order, that 0009, that can change. Is that correct? The last 4 digits after the hyphen?
Yeah, the 4 digits are associated with the task order that's issued for the given fiscal year. The contract number doesn't change, but the task order number does.
Okay, so they will always have that 190009, but they might have a different number after that. Correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
And if you are looking for the total budget per vendor, that's actually in attachment C to each of the task orders. And as an example, page 81 of the packet has the Parsons budget for next fiscal year.
I saw that.
Okay. All right. Excellent.
Great, thank you. Any other questions on the WBS?
I don't think so.
Okay, so we will now go through each of the major descriptions of different elements of the budget. So beginning first with the executive office. I'll let Claudia get the full screen going. So beginning first with the executive office, and I apologize, this has grown vertically. The right side table has grown vertically, largely because of the executive support service contracts that we now have in place. So hopefully you can see it, but we have a number of new vendors that we brought on over the past year. They're all housed within the executive office. So as you're looking down about a third of the way down, you start seeing a variety of different vendors: Project Neutral, National Constructors, Cone, Resnick, Schnabels. These are all individual firms that we've brought on through a competitive procurement process to support the executive office in various capacities. So it has grown this table, unfortunately, to be a little unwieldy. But the key activities for next fiscal year, we've got the organizational transition towards a 27 ramp up that continues to be a priority. Included within that, governance, staffing of key positions, system procedure enhancements, also oversight of the development of the Class 3 estimate, which is planned for later this year. And so a lot of those executive support service contractors are being engaged in that review and participating in the finalization of that draft. And then the Public Water Agency support as the program steers towards those implementation decisions starting in mid-2027. If there's any questions, just let me know and we can pause.
Well, Graham, I guess the question I would have, and perhaps because I haven't dug into it as much, but is back in the back end of this document, there's a lot of text about task orders. On this, what is the excerpt from the spreadsheet, there is somewhat of a description about what it is.
So within, it is a bit of a matrix that requires probably some discussion. So with each of our vendors, we establish a scope of work and a budget, and that's what's reflected in the task orders. What is a bit of a complexity is that we then have to translate those scopes and budgets into our system-wide WBS. And some of those WBS tasks can include multiple vendors performing discrete activities. It's a necessary step because we have to align all of our individual vendors' scopes and budgets within our work breakdown structure. And so that's where there's a translation activity. But you can, within the large spreadsheet that was shared that provides the summary by vendor, you can see that cross connection between where are the individual elements of a given vendor's budget aligned with the WBS. And if you go all the way to the bottom of that spreadsheet, you see the total, which matches the total for each vendor included with the task order. So the description of the scope, Gary, is within the scope of work of the task order. And then we distribute it through the work breakdown structure in the manner summarized within that by vendor summary spreadsheet.
I think the bottom line is there's enough information in this packet that we got for this meeting. We should be able to find an answer to almost any question we might have.
That's correct, if not more, yes.
If you want to take the time to dig it out.
Yeah, that's right. But I'm happy to answer any questions along the way and help the committee understand what the package is including.
It was just one thing I might suggest in some of the things that were presented is between the different vendors or the different items where you've got like a little summary which ultimately tallies up. Make the lines just a little bit bolder for my poor eyes to go through it. That's all.
I'm sure that's a formatting request on these slides, Sarah.
Yeah, that's all. Just in between, like little categories. Like you've got like this thing has this $3 million, and then you have a number of different things that go into that $3 million. If you could make one of the further slides, you have it in color, and that helps. But just make the lines a little bolder. Just a formatting. I mean, it's silly, but yeah.
Yeah, I think you're referring to the roll-ups that are embedded within the spreadsheet.
Yeah, that's it. Uh-huh.
Okay, very good. Okay, so Claudia, I think we can move to the next one, community engagement. And so, yeah, this is a deep dive into these individual pockets, which are summarized back on slide. So if you have it handy on slide 7, slide 7 has the highest level of the WBS. And so each of these is then broken out on the slide. So we did the first one, code 100, that's from our WBS, that is the executive office. Now we're on code 110, which is community engagement. And then if you look at the hierarchy, these then roll up, as you mentioned, Sarah, in color to the phase level, which is the top level underneath the project.
That made it easier once that was there.
Yeah. So I'm moving through these, and I won't bog down, but happy to pause and answer any questions. Under community engagement, so this is, I'm continuing to use slide 7 as sort of a legend here. This is code 110. There's a proposed budget of $1.581 million. The activities are listed within the table. Or the individual WBS distributions of budget are within the table. The key activities for 27 provide PWAs with clear, consistent information to support informed decision-making, engage stakeholders and industry audiences to build visibility and maintain momentum, and strengthen and expand digital communications through website enhancements and social media. I think what a complexity here is when you look within the function of community engagement, and then begin looking at the table that's here, you can see there's multiple vendors within this function. And I think, Gary, that gets to the point you're making, that it takes a bit of translation to track from the task orders into the WBS and recognize that a lot of the work we're doing is cross-organizational, cross-vendor work, but that the WBS is how we structure the program, not how we structure vendors.
Mm-hmm.
Just correlate well, or rather exactly then, to the proposed budget summary that we have.
It does, yes.
Yeah, I have that on my phone right now, so I can see where that's correlating.
Okay, great. So we'll move next to the next, move to the next slide, please, Claudia. Program controls. So key activities here for this function, process invoices, expenses, other costs to all DCA vendors and contractors, perform independent analyses of program functions related to cost, schedule, and risk, and support the executive office analysis of delivery phase requirements. The proposed budget for next fiscal year for this function is $9.863 million. Again, there are a number of vendors that contribute to the function within this, but it's largely a person's scope of work. Okay, next to administration. Key activities, facility needs. We are coming up with some need to re-up and repair some of the furniture and office supplies and other elements of the home office here. This includes our rent function, which, just as an awareness, we're currently not paying because of the disruption of the building. This is where all of our IT support and equipment is housed, as well as our program management information systems, abbreviated PMIS. Implementation is included. So this is all of our systems, system management, and user expansion. This is all the licensing that we do. A lot of that is all housed here for the various software platforms that we use within the program.
Question, and you may have said this before when maybe it wasn't here. Was our furniture and our equipment and stuff like that, was any of that damaged with the problems with the building?
I don't think we know yet. The first floor is untouched, basically, from the water damage, but there's still data line damage within the overall building that's affecting the function of the first floor. Regarding the upper floors, there is some damage to the flooring and walls. I have not yet heard whether any of our desks or other furniture have been impacted. But I think we'll be getting into the building next week to start testing our data ports and likely finding that some of those are damaged. So there is some elements to be dealt with, but our hope is we'll be back in the first floor in the not too distant future.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to procurement and contract administration. So key activities for next fiscal year: procurement and agreement administrative support for solicitations, negotiations, or amendments. We've got a contract management plan update for the delivery phase we'll be working on, and then reviewing and updating our standard agreement terms in coordination with Josh and the legal team. We have a total draft budget for this function of 1.119, close to 1.2 million, 1.12 million.
Is there a slide for that? Yeah, there it is. Okay.
Yep. The property function, key activities for next fiscal year: management of all temporary and permanent property acquisition activities. This is largely connected to the field work that's happening this next fiscal year and in the coming years, but also developing the property acquisition strategies, procedures, and requirements, and then coordinating those activities for property boundary surveys and title research. Total proposed budget for this function is $1.361 million. Permitting management, key activities include our environmental advisor and support work, preparing schedules for environmental permit requirements and commitments, developing the environmental compliance plan and tools in cooperation with DWR, and ensuring environmental compliance of all field activities. Total proposed budget for next fiscal year, $3.03 million. Health and safety, quality management, and sustainability. Key priorities, activities: continue to enhance the health, safety, and security program to improve safety oversight of the DCA project. Continued development of quality program for delivery, audits, and process efficiency reviews. Also included here is our continuous improvement program, as well as implementation of our programmatic sustainability plan. We will have that programmatic sustainability plan completed by the end of this fiscal year, As a result, we have a bit of a gap if you're comparing against last year to this year. On slide 7, you can see sustainability efforts were at 424,600 for FY 25-26. Those are now down to 97,100. That's a reflection of having the programmatic sustainability plan done by the end of this fiscal year. Then we sort of let that sort of simmer and percolate while we prepare for the next phase of delivery, where the next deliverable would be project-specific sustainability plans. So this is a reflection of essentially the big work product will be done this fiscal year. It will be into sort of a maintenance mode and then ramping back up in subsequent years. So total proposed budget for this group of functions is 438,600.
Okay.
Actually, I think there's an error here. Oh, I'm sorry. These are 3 different totals: 438,600, 288,300 for quality, 97,100 for sustainability. Those are 3 individual items, which match 3 individual items on slide 7.
Right.
So our geotechnical management, survey, and mapping management efforts. So as we talked about before, this is where all of the management of field work is conducted. There's a lot of coordination with property and the environmental teams within this function. The development of all technical requirements from a DCA perspective is performed by this function, as well as QA/QC of all collected data. Incorporation of that data into the various databases that we use to house, analyze, model, and visualize that information. And then the liaison with the DWR geomatics team is captured here as well.
Yeah, because that survey and mapping has gone up quite a bit. Okay. I mean, it's,
Yes.
you know.
Yes, it has.
Nice. Yeah.
So we have, for these 2 functions, budget 2.576 million for geotech management and 683,000 for survey and mapping management. And I guess I want to emphasize that these are not just sort of traditional management activities. It's the strategic, it's really the strategic support of qualified individuals that we obtain through these functions. So it's really setting the standards for the DCA program, and then also overseeing the work done by supporting vendors. Engineering is the next function. So this is the program initiation engineering. So now we're switching to the next phase underneath the PMO. So the key priorities would be to complete the system-wide BODR that will advance the design development to approximately 20% maturity. Supporting the development of the updated Class 3 cost estimate to be provided later in FY 26-27, and then program delivery planning, including analysis of schedule, risk, cost, and resourcing. That is support work. A lot of the actual schedule, risk, cost, and resourcing work is within the PMO, but where we do have engineering support, it's contained within the program initiation engineering function. So next, moving into the program delivery phase, we've got a couple of program delivery tasks: project geotechnical and survey and mapping. So this is all the functions that you see going back to slide 7 that are included here. So this is the 26-27 field work that's being conducted, the geotechnical work, the survey control network, right-of-way engineering activities, as well as field coordination, data reporting. It is within this group of functions that we have $3 million of contingency also included within the budget. Total numbers, 16.5 is the total for the project geotechnical. We've got survey, 213,600, control network, 152.3, right-of-way mapping at 2.455, and aerial mapping at 537,000. Okay, so that completes our rundown of the various functions within the program and the proposed budgets. In terms of next steps, the committee's review and feedback on the draft budget As I mentioned, we have the meeting scheduled for June 11th. We would want to address and provide an update at that June 11th Finance Committee. So we need to address any comments that the committee may have in the interim and come back with a budget that's ready for recommendation to the board for approval at the June 18th regular meeting. So that
I just
completes.
had a quick question.
Yes.
It's kind of off topic, I think, but when we look at the aerial mapping, have we taken advantage of any of the things like the DWR did when they were doing their flyovers and doing some of the underground mapping that, I don't know, doesn't go deep enough, but have we been able to take advantage of those?
At different points, Sarah, we have, and we are plugged in with DWR's efforts. You're right that in some circumstances, it doesn't provide the correct level of detail that we need. But the DWR efforts in the Delta, we're always coordinating with them to ensure that if there is applicable data that we can make use of that will serve our purposes, that we are not duplicating efforts and spending costs unnecessarily.
Cool, okay.
So that completes my my presentation, Chair Martin, and would be happy to answer any additional questions.
So what we probably ought to do, if we all can do it, Sarah and I, and perhaps Martin can do his review. If you'd like any comments that we get along the way sent to you prior to the June 11th meeting, I take it?
That is correct. Yes, please.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was finding it fairly reasonably easy to follow. I mean, there was, some of that formatting that I thought would have made it more easy, but it's pretty clear, especially, working back with slide 7 and then some of the details that come off in I guess Appendix A. It's tedious, but it's followable.
It can be a little daunting, yes, but I think if you can sort of wrap your head around that translation that's occurring between the task orders and the WBS, I think it does start to become more clear.
I must admit I dozed off a couple times and then I came back to it. It's okay.
Okay.
Well, Graham, this has been very helpful.
It's a very good report. Thank you so much.
All these things relate to one another, so.
Okay, excellent.
All right, Sarah, do you have any further questions or comments?
No, I don't. And it was a wade, but doable.
I have some homework.
Yeah, I did. I was doing homework. The dog was happy because she was able to just be by my feet and say, okay, she's not moving for a while.
Yeah, this is Martin. Public comment. I think that the way you broke all the sections out was a good way to present everything. And as far as all of those numbers that, we talked about that before, and you can't, as a committee matter, we can't get down into those numbers. Those are numbers that are refined and looked at by Graham and others under him, and that's, we're getting a good picture of how complex this whole thing is. And I went spent a little time with Graham at some of the deliverables, and it's the same way. There's hundreds and hundreds of numbers and sketches and all these deliverables done, and we can do the best we can to understand the structure of it all and have confidence through Graham that those numbers are as good as you're going to get until you spend them. And then there could be refinement. So I just don't think that we can I don't know how much time you would want to put into looking at a number and see where it came from. I don't think that I want to do that. So that's my overall comment.
Well, Martin, let me address that comment. I think you're right on the money. It's not our job to check the budget numbers. Our job is to dig enough so that we're comfortable that the numbers have a firm basis, but not every single number. We're not doing math checks. We're not doing any sort of checking other than to verify in your mind that the budget has a firm and rational basis.
Right.
And so, Chair Martin, just a reminder that President Millibar is appearing as a member of the public, so we may want to see if there's additional public comment before we return back to the committee.
Okay, we should check for public comment.
Chair Martin, I can confirm that we have not received public comment requests in the room or online, but I would like to validate that there are no public comment requests from your location or Ms. Palmer's.
No, we could public comment requests here.
None from our location.
Okay, we can proceed.
Thank you.
I'd like to say something at this point. I think even though we're not able to, each individual one of us probably does not have the wherewithal to delve totally deeply into all of this. Even by a reasonable look at this, you can tell that there is transparency, and that's the really important thing, is that we have this transparency that, if need be, one could go ahead and delve through this quite thoroughly. The numbers are there, as far as I can tell. And I think that's important to know. And so if it were to become something that one felt it was an issue, we could look at that. And I think that that's an important part of this committee, and it's an important part of the information that's presented to this committee.
I agree, Sarah.
Chair
Yeah,
Martin,
Did that ease your mind a little bit about what it is we have ahead of us?
Well, I liked your response to my comment, and I think we're all thinking the same way. And I'm not going to spend 150 hours looking. I'm not going to do it. It's because I have enough confidence in Graham and this whole process that we are overlooking it, and we are giving it a blessing that is reasonable. And so I think that's our job.
Chair Martin, too, if I could just comment, and I appreciate all that's been said here, and do again appreciate the daunting nature of all this detail that can be absorbed. But I do hope that you find through the past performance, which we reflect each year by comparing back to the prior year, the consistency and where there are deviations in that performance, getting a credible explanation that is easy to understand and makes sense. So where we have budgets changing, going down, going up relative to past years, that it's well understood why that's occurring. And then I think this pairs well with the monthly progress reporting that we've been providing to the board, again demonstrating the progress amongst each division and the sort of the work completion progress relative to the spend rates. And so I think the combined view of all this information should provide the sort of the understanding of where we have budgeted sufficiently and accurately, and where we may have had scope items change through the year. How we manage change through the year. So anyway, I just wanted to make that comment to the committee.
Well, one other thing I would like to say is that, even though maybe we're not going to spend 150 hours going through this. I mean, I spent several hours going through it, but we are under public scrutiny quite a bit, as you all know. And the fact that the information is here, and if one wanted to go through in great gory detail some of these things, they could. It's there. And I think that's an important thing for the public to know, and an important thing for those who are kind of watching us with eagle eyes, to know that that information is there and it's transparent. So I think that that's well done.
Good comment.
No, I agree, Sarah. You know, your point about transparency is very important. But I will add to that the only people that really know the level of effort required to accomplish the task are really the consultants themselves and our management team that we have under Graham's direction.
Mm-hmm.
We can
That's
make
true.
sure that everything is transparently provided, and we can make sure that there's a basis for all the numbers. But in terms of understanding and assessing the level of effort, that's pretty much beyond our scope.
Well, yeah, but that's not really the scope of the level of effort is not really the scope of this committee, but it is the scope of this committee to make sure that we are ethically bound to oversee the money.
Yes, right. All right.
Okay, so what's our next step? I mean, I would like to see maybe an update on that one slide that had those two other things you mentioned, that Gary, that slide with the blue stuff.
Yeah.
Yes, we will provide that as an update, Sarah,
It
out to
was
the
teal.
committee.
It was actually teal, if I'm getting this correct.
We'll update that slide and reshare it with the committee.
Great, thank you.
I think other next steps, if there's any items to be discussed, if you have any questions between now and June 11th, please let me know.
Okay,
Right. We'll do that.
looks good. Thank you so
So
much.
that concludes item 5A, and we already asked for public comment, and indications were that we're none. So we can move on to item 6, reports and announcements. 6A, verbal reports, if any. Are there any verbal reports?
Not from me.
No.
Other than it was great to see everybody at Aqua.
All right. Seeing none, we can move to item 7, adjournment. And thank you, Martin, for joining us. And thank you, Sarah, for your attendance. And thank you, staff, for all the information you've given us. And we are hereby adjourned.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much.